So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I appreciate your presence and I hope everyone's safe and keeping well. I'm Meenakshi Sundaram, one of the product marketers for Zoho Vault. I'll be running you through today's session. I guess some of you might already be familiar with me. And yeah, you can post your questions at any point in this webinar and keep the session interactive. And I'll answer all of your questions at the end of the session where we have a dedicated Q&A. Okay, so quickly we'll begin. So we'll start the session with a quick overview of the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month by telling you what it's all about and how it works. Then we'll be talking about this year's theme for the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, because every year has a different theme that it works around. So today we'll be talking about this year's theme, and it's around connected devices. So we'll be talking about how connected devices are being used across various parts of our life, our personal as well as business life. Then we'll be talking about how and why it's very important to protect these connected devices and to ensure that they keep your business safe from cyber threats as well. We'll then see how you can mitigate these threats and also see how Zoho World plays a very key role in all of this. So you can, again, as I mentioned, post all your questions and you'll get the answers when we have the dedicated Q&A at the end. All right, so let's get started. Now, I think if you take a quick look at this picture, you'll get a detailed a view of how your life has been controlled by different devices that we use on a daily basis, right? So I know it's a well-known fact that a major portion of our lives is now online. I mean, with almost every individual working remotely as and when possible, so we're now a lot more dependent on the online world than ever before. However, it's not just been a thing just now, right? So the mobile devices have been around for a long while, and we now depend on a lot of services and devices to keep our day ticking. So right from using a mobile application to order food, groceries, or even to get a cab, and right up to the point where you use all these smart appliances in your home, like the ones you see on your screen, like your smart home assistant, your smart watches, your smart TVs, and all those things that you use on a regular basis. So it's pretty much self-explanatory that a major chunk of our daily activities is being moved online, right? And it's not just me telling you that. So the numbers talk for themselves. So this is just a quick pictorial representation of what happens every single minute on the internet. So as you can see, there's been quite a bit happening with multiple text messages getting sent, videos being streamed and uploaded, meetings being held, packages getting delivered, photos being uploaded. There's so much going on the internet every single minute round the clock. And so this gives you a detailed picture of how a lot of the data is now online. But again, it reiterates a very major fact that we often tend to ignore. A lot of our data is now online and it's susceptible to potential cyber threats. Now, if you've been a part of our webinars previously, you'll know how much of an importance we pay for cyber threats as well as cyber attacks that happen on a regular basis. So it's not just the threat that you face on a personal level, right? It's also the businesses that suffer a lot when they encounter cyber attacks. So if you look at the numbers, it's becoming a worrying sight with an ever-increasing number of cyber attacks being recorded every single year. We still don't have stats for 2020 and we are holding our fingers crossed. But 2018 was once called the worst year on record for cyber attacks. And 2019 did one better by going 33% above the registered attacks or the number of reported attacks that happened in 2018. So that's a staggering number, right? And these attacks cause a lot of business impact, as you can see on your screen. A cybersecurity research that surveyed the chief information security officers of companies around the world stated that over 51% of the organizations were not fully prepared to face a cyber attack or a data breach. And not just that, almost 43% of the attacks target small and medium businesses. So there's no the partiality amongst which businesses get attacked on a common basis. And of the 43% of SMBs that get attacked, over 60% of these SMBs tend to go out of business in just 6 months, which is another worrying stat. And also after the attack, after all the damage is done, A cyber attack is estimated to cost around $200,000 on average for every enterprise. So, in short, the negative consequences of a cyber attack are plenty, yet a lot of this continues to happen due to lack of awareness or carelessness. And to change that very aspect, the US Department of Homeland Security and the National Cybersecurity Alliance came up with this concept called Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So this Cybersecurity Awareness Month has been a thing since 2004. So every October since 2004, uh, these agencies take charge to ensure that there's various topics that are being focused throughout the month of October related to cybersecurity. So the main focus of this initiative is to create a safe online space, safe online experience for every individual out there by providing them with adequate resources that they would require to ensure a safe browsing experience. So as I mentioned, it's now been 17 years since this initiative has begun. So every year there's a unique theme that they focus on, and for this year they'll be focusing on the importance of securing connected devices across the various aspects of our life. So when you look at it, it might seem a little odd. Like you might tend to think, okay, am I really using as many connected devices as they're talking about? But in reality, it is a lot, and we'll be seeing very soon why it's really important to secure these connected devices before actually seeing what connected devices actually are. So, what this theme does is it helps individuals and organizations own their role in protecting their part of cyberspace, while also adding a particular emphasis on the key message for 2020, which is if you connect it, you protect it. It's a very catchy phrase, but it's very essential that we follow that because whenever you connect something, you've got to protect it at all costs. And the common belief is that if everyone does their part in implementing stronger security practices, raising community awareness, educating vulnerable audience, or even training your employees, our interconnected world will be a lot safer and more resilient for everyone, which is quite true, right? So that's the aspect that NSA has been focusing on, and that's what they'll be doing throughout October 2020. So across 4 weeks, the theme would be split across in a weekly manner. So the first week will highlight the ways in which internet connected devices have impacted our lives and the need for all users to own their role in security by taking steps to reduce their risks. Week 2 will focus on steps users and organizations can take to protect internet connected devices for both personal as well as professional use. And the third week will go into details on the healthcare industry and consumer implications of internet connected devices, and what steps you can actually take to protect all these devices that you use on a regular manner. And the final week of Cybersecurity Awareness Month will look at the future of connected devices and how technological innovations such as 5G might impact the online experience of consumers and businesses, as well as how people can adapt to the continuous evolution that goes on and on, right? So there's something or the other new coming up every year. Technology gets updated every single year. So you've got to stay updated on what's going on and what different vulnerabilities you could possibly face so that you can stay safe and secure throughout. So all in all, it's going to be an exciting month to look forward to. But before we move on, let's just talk about connected devices in detail for a little bit. So what can we define as connected base, by the way? Or what type of devices do you term as connected devices? So basically, devices that have the capability to connect with each other with the help of internet are called as connected devices. And connected devices are also how people experience the Internet of Things, which is commonly referred to as IoT. And this is a broad term that describes a global network of devices and objects that can be connected with each other, again, through the internet. So these connected devices can be broadly categorized into three segments that are of relevance to us. And we just start with consumer devices that you see on your screen. So consumer devices comprise of your smart home appliances. So the smart TVs, or the smart bulbs, your voice assistants like Amazon Echo and Google Home, and all of these form a part of your consumer devices that have become a lot more common across many households of late. And then it's your commercial devices that are mainly used by healthcare and transport industries, such as your smart pacemakers, your monitoring systems, and even your vehicle to vehicle communication, and so on. And finally, the infrastructure IoT devices include sensor management systems, your security and surveillance devices, along with your printers, copiers, scanners, and all those devices that interact with the internet on a regular basis. So, yeah, so these are some of the common sections where one can find connected devices. Now you can also find some applications of these connected devices in the military, where robots are now used for surveillance and human wearable biometrics are used for combat. And again, you can also find some devices that help improve the agricultural industry as well. So those are very broad terms that would require in-depth analysis. But since these three divisions of the connected devices world are a lot more relevant to what we deal with on a regular basis, we'll be seeing how these devices can be vulnerable, as well as how they can be protected, and so on. So you might have a question. So, like I earlier mentioned, am I really using as many connected devices or IoT devices on a daily basis? So, if you already knew, great. But the interesting factor about connected devices is how quickly they become a part of our lives. So, in 2018, there were about 7 billion IoT devices, and this number almost more than tripled in 2019, with the number of active IoT devices set to be around 26.66 billion. And right now, there are about 127 new devices getting installed every single second. And again, the same report from Security Today states that there will be 31 billion new devices installed by the end of 2020. And by 2025, there will be more than 75 billion internet connected devices. So the number is quite staggering, as I earlier mentioned, and it continues to only grow. It does not see any, uh, you know, i- you know, in any deterioration anywhere. And it also clearly shows how our lives are evolving to be dependent on such devices for our personal as well as business use, because 93% of businesses will also reportedly adopt connected devices by the end of 2020. And they do so just to come out on top by tackling the competitive market that's out there. And this will invariably help the IoT market uh, touch the $1.1 trillion mark by the end of 2026, as per predictions. So simply put, these devices are here to stay, and they're going to become a lot more a common feature across our daily life. Okay, so while these devices are extremely helpful, are they safe and trustworthy? So if you've been following the rest of this session, then surely you would think that there are some red flags somewhere out there, right? So despite processing a lot of data, these connected devices don't tend to be extremely secure. They need protection, and that's probably why the entire Cybersecurity Awareness Month for 2020 focuses on protecting this very aspect. Because IoT devices are mainly vulnerable down to these devices lacking the necessary built-in security to counter some of the threats. So in some instances, the components that comprise these devices end up being vulnerable, and that can extensively affect the security coefficient of the entire device. And similarly, a study in 2017 on a smart speaker found out how simple open ports exposed the devices to anyone on the internet and revealed sensitive user information. So it's also reported that such cases will likely continue to be reported in the future, which is also quite worrying, right? Next, the usual culprit, your passwords. So the weak, guessable, or hard-coded passwords that can be easily brute forced and make devices equally vulnerable are another concern. So this is something we commonly talk about at Vault, and I'll go into details later. But this is another vulnerability that you'll have to look out for. And also, a recent document released by WikiLeaks stated that the spy agency had been tracking various exploits for IoT devices, although they did not share the bugs in order to use the vulnerabilities and secretly record their confidential conversations. But what they listed was the documents that have been listed under vulnerabilities included iPhones, Androids, and smart TVs, among other devices, stating how cybercriminals can effortlessly record the user without their consent. So that's something that's very that's quite shocking as well as very chilling to hear, right? And finally, with so many social media platforms and applications available, it's not so difficult to find an individual's personal identifiable information, such as your full name, your contact number, or your email address, and so on. And IoT devices make it even easier for attackers to access such personal information by invading corporate or home networks. So, okay, for example, a poorly secured IoT sensor can be easily connected to your home network, which enables attackers to exploit your e commerce or your social media details and eventually steal your personal data. So, all of this paints a clear picture on the amount of work that is still to be put on the security front to keep these devices safe as well as keep them free from cyber threats. So, keeping all that in mind, to help you guys get started, we have a few key points that you can keep in mind to ensure that you are secure. To ensure that your connected devices are kept safe and secure. So let's just get started by seeing out some of the security tips that you can follow in your personal as well as business life. Starting from the next slide. Okay, so when it comes to securing personal devices, here are some things that you can actually follow. So you can start by keeping your device up to date. So whenever there's a software update, just ensure that you go ahead and update it without any excuse, because that'll help you get be up to date with whatever fixes that have been made. If there's been any vulnerability, you can address that with the software update as well. Then again, it's always important to set unique, strong passwords for all your smart devices. So it will also help if you can add TFA whenever and wherever possible, along with your strong passwords, because that will add another layer of security for your accounts and devices. And yeah, also ensure you never connect your devices to open public networks, as they can pose potential security risks. And also keep track of all of your devices and have them audited on a regular basis. See if your devices post any security vulnerability, and if there's a new version out that you can upgrade to, if you can, maybe that can mitigate the security threat. Because if there's any issue with the hardware, you might have to upgrade on the device to keep yourself safe and secure. Now, so when it comes to securing your business devices, you can start by finding out all the IoT devices that are already connected to the network. So this is a crucial basic step that unfortunately doesn't happen at many organizations. And when we read a report that only less than 10% of organizations mentioned that they were actually confident about knowing all the printers, cameras, and building automation systems on their networks that are connected to the internet, it was quite shocking. Not a lot of organizations were very aware of all the devices that they had and managed that were connected to the internet. So start by scanning all the devices that are connected to your network, because that's the first point where you get started, right? So identify all the devices and validate them and see if they are actually devices that need to be connected to your network. There are cases where sometimes an employee's personal device might be connected to uh, your network that's used for the office purposes and stuff. So these are minor things that need to be checked every now and then, uh, as and when required according to security policies. Next, a big part of securing your devices lie in the design of your network architecture. So this is an early part where you can ensure complete security for all the internet connected devices in your enterprise. So either consult with your security consultants in your company, or hire a security architect if you think that's something that your enterprise can benefit from, and something that you can afford as well. So it's very important, if you can get them on board, it's going to be very valuable in the long run. Now, to prevent your devices from introducing vulnerabilities into the network, scan the device before enabling the connection with your network. So performing vulnerability scans for devices and systems on a continuous basis can also ensure the continued health of your network and its components as well. Similarly, keep an eye for potential threats you can experience in your enterprise, and also ensure you stay prepared to face them. Like, don't wait until the last moment to combat a cyber threat, just have a mock drill kind of a thing where you can go through all the different things that can go wrong and how you can maybe reduce the reaction time. So if you can improve on your response time, that will save a lot of financial trouble, as well as your the security of your devices as well. Finally, the most important point is to ensure you have a proper plan in place to combat a cyber attack as and when it happens. Like I just mentioned, just ensure you have a proper backup plan. Let's say you are a victim of a cyber attack. Just ensure you have a playbook that you can that you can use whenever you run into trouble, so you wouldn't have to think about your next steps at that moment. Always stay prepared to prevent a cyber attack, as well as be prepared to respond to a cyber attack as well. Okay, so these are a few tips that I feel would definitely ensure better safety for your enterprise, as well as your personal and enterprise devices in general. Now, Cybersecurity Awareness Month doesn't just talk about the theme of that particular month. They also encourage enterprises as well as users to go ahead and campaign for any cause they believe would be really helpful for all their users or their friends and their colleagues. So, keeping that in mind, I would want to touch upon something that we currently face, a cybersecurity threat that we currently might pose. So, let's just see what all cybersecurity threats you can face in 2020. So now 2020 has been a very challenging year for every individual and enterprise out there. That's because with the pandemic going on without any practical end date to it, and as unfortunate as it might seem, we have millions of people continuing to work from their homes, which is the right thing to do. And this has again brought up a lot of challenges for companies to deal with in a cybersecurity aspect, because this is probably the first time ever our personal lives as well as our work lives have become so closely entangled. And what this has done it has given rise to a lot of potential cyber threats that we must stay prepared for, pay close attention to, and all that. And it's also opened possibilities for more conversations on cybersecurity, and how and also a time where we can take a step back and introspect on how well we've been prepared to face something like this. So let's just begin by seeing the potential cybersecurity threats that people might face in 2020, starting with a report that was made by Verizon recently. So Verizon recently carried out a data breach investigation research post the advent of COVID-19. Right? They did this just to understand the potential cyber risks involved during remote work. And in this report, they've highlighted 4 key points, and I've listed them here. So they've noted that there have been an increase in human errors, which have often resulted in data breaches lately. Okay, so how? So the errors range from misconfigurations of security parameters on applications, misdelivery of authorized files and documents, and so on. Now, this is mainly down to the heavy workloads that people have been enduring due to the lack of resources, which has been either due to furlough or sickness, and also a much higher resilience on new and unfamiliar solutions that need to be deployed very quickly. So there's also the family distraction part as well that it gets commonly discussed. So these are the few key pointers that they've listed out in this report under the potential reasons for increase in human errors. So basically, all in all, human errors have significantly increased, and they also predict this to rise in the upcoming future. Next, there's also a notable increase in the number of COVID-related phishing mails. So the report states that phishing emails with COVID terms that had a higher median click rate than other phishing emails was down to how people, were very interested in knowing updates about COVID in the early stages of this pandemic. So they state that the phishing emails that had the term COVID or any term related to COVID-19 had higher click rates than other emails. And evidently, these phishing mails can also lead to potential ransomware attacks, which is being predicted as well. So, of the 128 malware incidents analyzed in the report, it stated that about 34 of them were ransomware breaches. They also predict this number to rise in the upcoming months. Finally, the most important section of the report talks about the exploitation of login credentials. So the report states that over 80% of the breaches within the hacking category were caused by stolen or brute forced credentials. So they also go on to state that businesses are now forced to lean on SaaS platforms more heavily now than since the advent of the internet. So basically, what they're trying to state is that this has substantially widened the attack surface for bad actors looking for stolen and brute force credentials. So this is a time where you'll have to keep your passwords very, very safe as well. And I'll tell you why. Because now it's believed that on average, people use about 35 business critical applications on a regular basis, as well as some enterprises even use up to 200 applications on a daily basis, depending on the size of the firm and the type of work that they do. So these numbers are expected to grow with remote work kicking in. So these reports were pulled out before the advent of COVID. So these numbers tend to be on the rise more than on the decline. And again, this emotion has been echoed by CFOs from top enterprises as well. So, one in five CFOs interviewed by Gartner since the advent of COVID stated that they wouldn't cut down their spending on cloud solutions despite the financial barriers posed by COVID 19. And three out of five stated that they would continue spending the usual amount on cloud applications despite not being financially sound during this crisis as well. So, in short, businesses are willing to adopt new applications to let their employees work just as efficiently from home when compared with their productivity at work. So definitely the number of applications people use would be on the rise. And why is it so important? It's because people often neglect the importance of securing login credentials, and the more number of applications they sign up on a regular basis, the more likely they would be to use either a weak password or a password or one strong password that they reuse across different websites, and all of this results in poor password hygiene, which in turn affects this safety of your enterprise as well. And again, as we'd earlier seen, over 80% of hacking attempts were made using stolen credentials, and this is something that really, really has to be given more importance right now. So, a solution like Zoho Vault is very critical in such a phase, right? So, this is exactly where Vault helps businesses and individuals safeguard their passwords as well as, prevent any potential cyber threats or any cyber attacks from happening at different enterprises. So the best part about using a password manager like Vault is how they can simplify password management for you in one go. They can keep all your passwords safe and secure, as well as prevent you from actually having to manually remember strong passwords, unique strong passwords for different accounts, which is inhuman, right? You cannot remember multiple strong passwords for different accounts, especially if you're using hundreds of accounts on a daily basis for work as well as personal life. So, users of Vault will no longer have to remember all their passwords, and they can easily safeguard them in one secure place. And they'll only be required to remember one strong master password. And by using this master password, they'll be able to access all their saved passwords from either their mobile application or from the website using the browsers, or even using your iPad devices as well as Apple Watch as well. So this is something that you can very well use with. This is something that will be very much useful for you when you switch to Vault, or if you're already using Vault. I think you're pretty much familiar with these. And I'll just simply run through the rest of the points. So Vault again helps you organize these passwords in different folders. Let's say you have a social media team, you can group all your social media passwords into a folder called social media and share that password with people who are responsible for managing your social media accounts. So that's something that Vault efficiently does while maintaining the security aspect as well. And users can also simplify login to different websites and applications they regularly access by either using our browser extensions or our mobile applications. So you can automatically log into web accounts and completely avoid the manual authentication method with our auto login process. And it doesn't stop there. Vault also generates unique, strong passwords for all new logins. It helps teams safely share their passwords and folders, like I mentioned. And you can also share these passwords and folders with one of four different sharing privileges. One of the privileges allows you to share passwords without letting the other person view your password in plain text as well. So they can only access the account that they're about to log in and work with, but not view the passwords in plain text. And yeah, it also helps you keep your password secure and allows admins and super admins monitor all the access that gets all the access is made by your users. You can monitor who's accessing which password in your team. You can access data and logs about the real-time events that happen in your vault. You can get alerted whenever a sensitive action happens. Let's say somebody deletes a password from a folder, you can get notified, and so many other things that ensure the security and integrity of your passwords are retained well. So yeah, so you should definitely adopt a password manager if you don't already have one, or if you already have one, uh, you should definitely use it on a regular basis as well. So another common mistake that people often tend to do after adopting a password manager is setting weak passwords for their accounts, regardless of whatever happens. So the main purpose of adopting a password manager is to ensure your passwords are unique, strong, and safe. So if you're using a password manager, ensure that you generate random strong passwords for your accounts, and you just and not like you use the password manager as a safe repository from where you can just access your passwords. To keep your passwords safe, access them from one safe place, and ensure sharing of passwords happens hassle free. And it's not just for enterprises. You can even use a password manager for your family, where you can share your Netflix subscriptions. If you have other bank details that you would like to share with your family members, or if you have any other wi-fi, let's say wi-fi password, you can share your wi-fi password, your rental agreement, and so many other things with people within your family as well. So it's a really useful tool that you should definitely try out and ensure everybody in your circle uses as well. Okay, so here we'll see a few quick tips related to cybersecurity and how you can keep yourself safe online. So much of these would already have been discussed in the session, or these might be things you would already know, but I'm just reiterating the fact that they're quite important, and it would be great if you can pay additional attention when going through either of these activities. So yeah, so you should be aware of what you're clicking. Like we discussed, phishing emails are on the rise, especially the ones with COVID terms. If you're receiving any suspicious email, or if you find any suspicious link in your email, please don't click it. Just either report spam on the email, or just go ahead without accessing the link that you see on those emails. And you should be aware about setting a strong password for your account as well. Like we discussed, ensure your account has TFA enabled whenever and wherever possible, and remove applications that you no longer use on your phone. So we all have multiple applications that we just don't use on a regular basis. Some of these applications might be idle since, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. I've got a lot of junk on my phone that I recently cleared as well. So if you have any application that you no longer use, just get rid of them, and keep your devices safe and clutter free. And again, an important thing thing that you'll have to remember is just think twice before you post any content on public forums, social media, or any other online networks. Because when you put your data out there, it's pretty much accessible to other people. And another important thing that you'll have to remember is to customize the privacy settings on who can access your data on such networks. So if there's some confidential information that you'd only wish your friends to see, ensure you set those settings uh, accordingly. So Facebook and other social media networks allow options where you can let who can see those particular data as well. So that's a really important thing that you can go back and check. If you're doing it well already, great. But if you haven't really enabled those security features, go ahead, go check if your posts are on the public mode or on the private mode, and the different other options that are available across your social media networks. And also try to avoid posting sensitive information often on your social media pages. And similarly, you can also check all the active browser sessions or active device sessions of these different social media accounts as well. These options are available across your Facebook, your Gmail accounts as well. So you can go ahead and view if any unauthorized activity is any unauthorized user is using your account. So you can invalidate those sessions and get rid of all the unwanted sessions forever, and keep your accounts fresh and secure. Finally, ensure you have all your sensitive data backed up on a periodic basis. So if you feel there are certain data that you wouldn't want to lose, ensure you have two copies of them. And you know let's stay prepared for the worst, right? This is just a quick roundup of a few cybersecurity tips that you can maybe follow. And uh, yeah, I mean, these are probably already discussed in detail by different friends of yours, or across different sessions of Zoho Vault as well. But yeah, it's always good to revisit them, right? Okay, so if you wish to create awareness of cybersecurity within your circle, this is probably going to be the best time to do that, given that it's going to be Cybersecurity Awareness Month starting October, which is like 2 days from now. So, how can you get started? What can you do to create a better environment around you? Here are a few tips. You can start by spreading awareness of cybersecurity. You can either post about it on your social media accounts, or you can initiate cybersecurity talks within your team. So if you're either working, even if you're working remotely, you can just step on a remote call, and probably on a Friday evening, if you guys have any rituals on a particular date or a particular day, you can just hop onto a call. When you're having casual conversations, you can talk about how secure your devices are, how secure your enterprise's safety is. If you feel there's something lacking, and you can take that conversation up and have a word with one of your managers, or any of those people from your security team as well. If you have one, great, you can report it to them. Or if you feel uh, a few members lack awareness, what you can do is you can spread awareness. You can hold cybersecurity talks within your enterprise, and not just once in a while. It should probably be on a regular basis, so you keep yourself as well as the people around you updated on all the latest updates that are going on. Similarly, you can write a blog about cybersecurity and why people should keep themselves informed every single time, because not a lot of people give attention to cyber threats unless and until they face a cyber attack on their own. I can personally pick out a few friends of mine who've been victims of ransomware incidents, and they left it too late to recover from the damage. It was a lot that they had to lose in the end. Many cherished memories, photographs lost, and all that stuff. All right, yeah. So coming back, you can also educate the younger generation about the importance of cybersecurity, because kids these days, unlike how we used to, they've already started classes online. And online classes are the new trend right now. I'm not quite sure if they would be dying out anytime soon. But with kids accessing a lot more devices right now, I think it's the best that if you go ahead and tell them what is right and what is wrong, what probably they could focus on, how they can keep themselves safe when they're browsing. And also, it'll be great if you can have an elderly supervision whenever young kids are operating your devices as well, to kind of handhold them through the process and give them a great online experience as well. So yeah, before we end the session and move on to your questions, we have a few resources that we've collected from the NCSA website. So these are resources that might be helpful if you're willing to, promote cybersecurity within your circle, within your enterprise, or amongst your friend circle, or on even on your social media. You can make use of these resources that are available from these websites. I'll be posting these links on Zoho meeting right now, so that you can just access them and take a quick look at them. You can also tweet on Twitter with the hashtag #BeCybersmart, which is being followed for this year, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So you can go on Twitter and post your tweets related to cybersecurity with the hashtag #BeCybersmart. And if you have any resources that you'd like to share with our users as well, you can mention our Twitter handle at Zoho Vault and tweet out your content, and we'll ensure that if they're valid, we'll just retweet them and get them the exposure that they require. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my side. So if you've got any questions, I'll be ready to take them up. I'll just quickly copy this content for you guys before we step. Okay, just give me a second. Right, let's just quickly go on. Yeah. Okay. So I've got a question from one of the attendees who said some applications are detecting if passwords that are used were part of a recent cybersecurity breach. Is this planned, roadmapped, or already included in Zoho World? So that's a very good question. I'm not quite sure if I have their name here. It says undefined. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so Zoho Vault has plans to introduce alerts for breached passwords. So whenever your passwords are exposed in a security breach, let's say your passwords get exposed in a third party site, you would want to reset that, right? And just to get yourself informed about that, you'd want to know which email addresses or passwords are vulnerable and would require a reset. So this is something that we have on in our roadmap, and you can expect an update from us soon. If you guys aren't already following our forums, we would really encourage you to keep an eye on our forums, our community, and we'll be posting about that very soon. This is something that's already in our roadmap, and we are working on it right now as we speak. And yeah, you should be expecting an update very soon on that. Thanks again for posting the question. So guys, you can use the Q&A section to post your questions. I'll be taking up all your questions. We've also got Christopher from our team who's also helping us with some of the answers here. So thanks for joining, Christopher.
Yeah, thanks, Kavi.
So yeah, you can keep your questions coming. You can post your questions about Vault as well. If you have any questions or issues with Vault, we can answer them for you. And like I said, if you guys are interested in, involving yourself in the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, you can post your content on social media websites. You can tag us if you would want some of your tweets to get some attention, like I mentioned. Our Twitter handle is at Zoho Vault, so just posting that for everyone. Also, if you have any questions related to cybersecurity, you can always tweet to us. We would be happy to assist you with that. And if you have any questions related to Vault as well, you can post them. We'll be getting back to you very soon through Twitter as well. And even if you have any questions that you would like detailed answers to, you can contact support@zohoworld.com. I'm sharing that link as well. I mean, the email address as well. You can write to support@zohoworld.com anytime if you have any questions related to Vault that you'd want us to address. So, yeah, you can also share your feedback about the session, and if you've been trying Zoho Vault's new UI, you can share your feedback about Vault's new interface and whatever things you'd expect from Vault in the coming months as well. You can drop your feedback about that as well, and you can also share your feedback on what type of webinars you'd like to see in the future, so we can include them in our roadmap and talk about them in detail as well. Thank you so much, Tanya. We're happy to help. Yes. Okay, I'm just wondering if I pasted the links properly. I'm just gonna paste them once again. I think I made a mess out of it. I'm just gonna quickly, yeah, just give me 1 sec. Okay. I think that should look a lot clearer right now. Okay, so there's another question related to Zoho Vault's beta interface. So again, I can't see your name. So Zoho Vault's UI is about to get released very soon. You can expect an announcement from us in the coming weeks. So we're pretty much done. We've collected every single feedback from our users, and we have extensively worked on making the interface better because we didn't want to force this on all of our users, and we valued everyone's comments. So we've been working on getting every part addressed, every feature or every user's comments addressed in a proper manner. So this is something that's taken us a little bit longer than we usually planned for. So yeah, you should definitely hear about you should definitely hear about Zoho World's interface going live probably by the end of October. Yeah. Okay. Um, can you create Can you create like client portals to share access or passwords with clients? Okay, so again, I'm sorry, I don't see your name, but yeah, you can definitely create different entries in Zoho Vault. You can add different passwords in Vault, and you can share these passwords with any user who's part of your organization as well. What you can do is you can add multiple passwords. If you are looking to share passwords with a client, you can either add them to Vault and share these passwords with them by adding them as a user to Vault, or what you can do is you can share passwords temporarily with the clients, considering them as a third party user. So Vault allows sharing of passwords with third party users as well. So if you would require temporary sharing from Vault, if you'd like to share passwords on a temporary basis with your clients, you can use the third party sharing. It's something that will be useful when you're sharing passwords with contractors, freelancers, and stuff. I'm not quite sure if this is a use case that you're referring to, but to share passwords with clients, you'll have to add them as a user to your Zoho Vault account, and only then share passwords with that particular client. Christopher, do you have anything to add to that?
So from the question, I understand one thing, like it seems like the user wants to create a form or a creator application through which they can, like get passwords from their client. and store them in Zoho Vault. So they are trying to achieve, like such kind of requirement here. But this is not possible because in our case, the security concept or the technology that we use to handle the client-side decryption model, it requires some sort of JS scripts to be involved on the web page or the application they are trying to use, or the form in which they are trying to get the passwords from the customer. So in case of Zoho Creator and Zoho Forms, where we tried to explore options, but we couldn't do that as of now. And there are some limitations with the deluge that we have in Creator and Forms. In case, if you're going to do it in other third-party web applications, what we can do from our side is we'll be able to share you the encryption decryption package or the JS scripts or the crypto library that we use in Zoho Vault. But the encryption and decryption has to be handled on your end on any application through which you're trying to get the passwords from the client.
Thank you, Christopher, for that. And another question from Susan, who has a question. Okay, so she wants to know if there's a data breach, who all needs to be notified as per law. Okay, so Susan, by default, anyone who may have directly been affected by the data breach would require some notification. So anyone whose data has directly been breached and affected, they should definitely be notified. And anyone else whose personally identifiable information has been compromised would definitely have to be notified with details of the breach as well. So this is something that's quite basic that you'll have to do. Hoping that you wouldn't have to run into such a situation. But again, this is something that you'll definitely have to do. But with that being said, there are about different regional laws that work across the globe with relation to data breach notifications. So you'll have to keep a close eye on what your regional laws say. And again, if you fall under the EU GDPR regulations would be applicable for you as well. So in such cases, they have strict timelines on when these notifications should be sent out. They have, I think, 72 hours within which the notification should be sent out to users. And if what I'm saying is right, they would be, they would be charging fines to these enterprises that breach that time frame and all that stuff. So I would really advise you to check out the regional laws that you'll have to abide by. And if you have customers who are EU residents, and and if your customers vary across the globe, then you'll have to take an in-depth look on all the different laws that you'll have to comply with. So I would advise you to take a closer look at your customer base as well as your regional laws. I hope that helps a little bit. Cloudline Canada, thank you so much, guys. You guys are being a constant feature of our webinars. Thank you so much for joining and being a part of every one of our webinars. Yeah, your encouragement is really, really amazing. Okay, so if you guys have any last questions, I'll be able to take them now. If not, we'll be quickly winding up the session. Any last questions?
And Hari?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to append a few information about Susan's query here.
Yes.
So when it comes to breach notifications, it depends. So first thing is, as Hari said, we must notify users who are impacted because on the data breach. So that's the first thing, and the notification has to be done within 72 hours. And then it depends. So it depends on the type of breach. So depending on the breach, we can inform the processors or the owners, that is, who provides the service to the client or the customers. So there are two different scenarios, and depending on that, we can provide notification to REST. So, but in both the cases, notification to client who are impacted of the data breach is a mandatory one.
Thank you for that, Christopher. I hope, Susan, your questions, answered a little bit better now. If you still have any doubts, I would definitely recommend you to check out your regional laws as well, because there are about. I just had a quick check and I got to know that there are about uh, 50 different types of data breach notifications based on the states that you're from. I'm not quite certain about that, but again, I would advise you to go ahead and get a lot more details checked online or with proper uh, security counselors that you might know. I hope that little bit of information was helpful, and as well as I'm hoping that this session was, helpful for you guys. Uh, just keep spreading the word. Talk about cybersecurity whenever possible, and yeah, keep updating us with all your progress. You can mention us with you can mention us on Twitter with the handle name at Zoho Vault, and we'll be happy to see if you guys have made any initiatives on your own, and we would definitely be excited to share that with the rest of the world as well. So I guess that's it from us for now. We'll be joining you guys again next month with a different topic, and we'll be detailing you about something related to cybersecurity or Zoho World very soon in another webinar next month. So until then, thank you so much, guys. This is Meenakshi Sundaram from Zoho World signing off, and I also have to thank Christopher for being a part of this session. Thank you so much for joining, Christopher. It was wonderful to have
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session with us today.
all right. Thank you, guys. We'll meet you soon. Bye bye.